Hi guys, today we're going to be making cinnamon rolls, so let's get started. So we're going to start off by blooming our yeast, and this is just going to ensure that our yeast is alive and will help our dough to rise. So we're going to take our milk and we're going to put it in a saucepan, and we want it to be put on low heat just until it's warm, not hot or bubbling, but just warm to the touch. And then we're going to get our active dried yeast prepared. And I'm just going to put that in a bowl, and you can use instant or rapid rise, but I had active, so that's what I'm going to use. And you can find all yeast in your bakery section of your grocery store. Into my yeast, I'm going to add sugar, and sugar is going to actually feed the yeast and help it to grow. And now that we have our yeast and our sugar mixture ready, we're going to add our warmed milk on top of the yeast. And we're going to stir it up and then set it aside for 5 minutes. And when we come back, it should have a layer of foam and bubbles at the top. And that will let us know that our yeast is alive and ready to work. And the yeast is actually going to help the dough to rise and help make it nice and soft and airy. And we'll also need 2 eggs for our dough, as well as a stick of butter. And this is room temperature. You want everything to be at room temperature so it can mix together nice and smoothly. If some things are at different temperatures, it will make it harder for it all to incorporate. So everything should be at room temperature. If you're not sure if your butter and your eggs are at room temperature, just leave it out on the counter for about an hour or 2, and that should help take the chill off from the refrigerator and help it to get down to room temperature. So you should be able to cut your butter easily, and your eggs should be nice and warm and ready to incorporate into the dough. And we're also going to get ready our sugar as well as our flour. And I like to measure my flour with a food scale, because it's just a little bit more accurate than using a dry measuring cup. And if you feel like, oh, I have trouble baking and I'm not sure, my recipes never come out right, try using a food scale and using recipes with that type of measurements, like grams or ounces, and it's usually a little bit more reliable. And now we have all of our ingredients ready for our dough, so let's get started. And we're going to start off by mixing together our butter and our sugar. And this should be nice and smooth. And once that's incorporated together, we're going to add in our milk and our yeast mixture, as well as our 2 eggs. And we're going to mix that together, and that's going to be our wet ingredients for our dough. And once that's all incorporated, we can start in adding our flour. I usually add it in 2 parts. The dough will be sticky at first, but it will come together and it will look like this. And you want to put the dough out on a floured surface, and you just want to roll it until it comes together, and it should feel nice and smooth under your hand. You shouldn't feel any lumps, but it should be nice and smooth. About maybe 2 or 3 minutes, not long. And once the dough is ready, we're going to spray a large bowl with cooking spray so that the dough won't stick. And we're going to place the dough inside of the bowl. And I like to spray it on the top as well. You can use oil or butter if you don't have the cooking spray. And you want to cover it with plastic wrap and let it sit in the refrigerator overnight, or at least 8 to 10 hours. You want to give the dough enough time to double in size. And while our dough is rising, this is actually the next day, I'm prepping our cinnamon sugar mixture that we're going to put inside. And I didn't have any brown sugar, so I took granulated white sugar and mixed it with molasses. And then I mixed those 2 together to create my own brown sugar. And that's how they make brown sugar, just white sugar and molasses. And you mix it together, and you'll see I'll have something that looks like a dark brown sugar. The more molasses you add, the darker the brown sugar will be. So to make our cinnamon sugar mixture, I'm going to mix our sugar, our brown sugar, as well as our cinnamon. And I'm just going to mix those two things up and get them nice and incorporated. And now we can set that aside and we can prepare our butter that we're going to use for the inside of our dough. And I'm using about a stick of butter, and I'm just using the back of a spoon to make it more soft and more pliable. We're going to kind of frost this butter on the dough once we roll it out. So you'll see that in a second. So once our dough has risen and doubled in size, we're going to punch it down like you just saw me do, and we're going to take it out of the bowl and put it on a floured surface so that we can roll it out till it's about a 1/2 inch thick. And this dough, it's nice and easy to roll out because it's been in the refrigerator for so long. It's nice and relaxed, so it's really easy to kind of mold into what we want it to be. So once we have it rolled out, we're going to take our softened butter and we're going to dot the top of it all over. Just put little dots, and then we're going to smooth it out with the back of a spoon or offset spatula. And once we have that all smoothed out, we can add our brown sugar and our cinnamon mixture all over the top and sprinkle it as evenly as you can. And then we'll use the back of our hands or our palms to smooth that out and just make sure that it's covering all over. And now we can start rolling, and we're just going to roll and tuck, making sure that everything stays nice and tight. It is nice and secure, so you're just going to roll it and then tuck it in, roll it and tuck it in till you get all the way to the end. This is a very friendly dough, easy to work with, so don't be afraid of it. You got it. You can do it. And now we're going to take our roll and we're going to cut it in half. And I like to cut it in half because I think it's just a little bit easier to kind of see the size of it when it's not so big. And then I'm going to cut off about 1.5 inch sizes of cinnamon rolls, so they'll be nice and big. But it's okay if you cut them too small, they'll just cook quicker. And now we have our cinnamon rolls cut and ready to go in the oven. And 20 minutes later, when your house smells amazing, you're going to have your cinnamon rolls. And you're going to cover them in icing. I like to use a mixture of cream cheese, powdered sugar, and milk. And there you have it, warm cinnamon rolls for you and your family to enjoy. I hope you liked the video. See you again soon. Bye-bye.